California love. California knows how to party. California knows how to party. In the city of LA. In the city of good old Watts. In the city of Compton. We keep it rockin'. We keep it rockin'. I'm not gonna go into Tupac, but
Now, welcome everybody to the Wild Wild West. Untouchable like Elliot. Oh man, when was the first time you listened to Tupac?
First time I listened to Tupac, I think, was like probably high school. And like to be honest, I wasn't like that into Tupac like when I was a little younger, like high school, and then started listening to him a little bit more in college. And then when Kendrick Lamar like came up big, I started listening to a lot of Kendrick, and then obviously more Tupac then. And what's funny, man, is like with the Diddy, I don't know if you've seen like the Diddy documentary. That stuff
No, I
is
haven't
wild.
yet.
You should, but it's a wild documentary. But I was bumping some Tupac like a month ago. I found like productivity for the business. I love to like have a hot cup of coffee and just blast All Eyes on Me, like the album, and I can get a ton of shit done. But I was bumping Tupac like a month ago, and then my friend's like, "Yo, you got to watch the Diddy documentary. It's gonna make you want to listen to more Tupac." And Emily and I watched it last week, and I've just been playing it. I've been playing Pac like every day. It's great.
Why does it make you want to listen to more Tupac though?
With the after watching the Diddy documentary,
Yeah,
the documentary just gets into like essentially, without giving away any spoilers or anything away, just like the essence of his death and like how Diddy was pretty much like thoroughly involved.
wow.
And it just and it talks about how it just talks about like how Tupac was as a person, and then like his part of his music career, and how like Diddy and like his management with Notorious B.I.G. like how it was all intertwined, but how like Tupac was very much like a part of it. Just talks a lot about Pac. So I was like, damn, dude, Pac is the fucking man.
Dude, I got indoctrinated way too early. I think I was in third grade when I first started listening to Tupac. Yeah. And it was the Hit 'Em Up song. Wife, yo, that one. And I was just like, holy cow. Like,
just cursing out your elementary school teacher.
I was literally rapping that, and I was like, I have no idea what some of these things mean. Like, obviously curse words, but the other ones, like, oh, in the click you claim West Side, I remember why you claim to be a player, but I was just, why am I rapping this as a freaking, I must have been 8 years old Chinese kid in Queens.
I love that. Well, it's okay, dude. I'm a white Jewish kid from Calabasas, so it's all good.
Dude, how is the Chinese takeout in the movies?
Bro, do you see this coffee mug right here?
Merry
Jewish Christmas. My mother-in-law got me that. It's it was dope, man. No, we celebrated because Emily converted to Judaism before we got married, even though I didn't like push that on her. She kind of just like organically decided to. But we still celebrate Christmas with her family. And I love Christmas. It's dope. But we had like we did Hanukkah. We celebrated with my family. We celebrated with a few friends. And then we did Christmas last week with her family. Like, it's been a fun few weeks for sure.
Dude, as a kid, I remember like Dreidel. I made it. Like, is dreidel still a thing as like an adult? Like,
for sure. Not like as an adult. It's mostly for kids. You play like a little, like they have like the chocolate gelt, like the little like chocolate coins.
And what's like the traditions?
It's like you spin the dreidel, and if it lands on a certain Hebrew letter, then it like tells you how much chocolate you can take or you have to like give.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's essentially teaching like elementary gambling. But no, it's a mostly like it's a game for little kids.
What else, like tradition-wise, like food-wise, do you guys do for the Hanukkah?
Food-wise, so we have like the potato latkes. Those are pretty fire. So we get the potato latkes. We get them from Trader Joe's. So we just like throw them in the air fryer. Yeah, they're pretty good, man. I was talking to my wife. I was like, why don't we eat these like more throughout the year? Because it's kind of like a once a year thing. But we have potato latkes, and then they have these. Have you ever had like it's a jelly donut? So it's like a round donut with like white glaze on top, and then the inside is filled with like raspberry jelly or strawberry jelly. They're called sufganiyot in Hebrew, but Yeah, those are fire. Those are like great traditional Hanukkah food. And then usually we'll do like a big dish. So like we had some friends over this year and we catered in some like brisket, which was
Ooh,
like, yeah, it was brisket and potatoes and carrots and I don't know, just some like pretty bomb food. I would say those are like kind of the staples, I would say, of Hanukkah.
dude, the Jewish community obviously is super prevalent in New York City, and then there's like a ton of like fine food Jewish like grocery stores, especially in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this one spot. It's called Zabar's, and you can get like a dope bagel sandwich or like a regular like turkey sandwich, and get a side of like matzo ball soup. Bro, the matzo ball soup is out of this world, like
Slaps.
so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, my mom. It's funny. I feel like every Jewish person is like, my mom makes the best matzo ball soup. But I mean, there's the matzo ball soup is always it's hard not to get.
Yeah. Oh man. So how's everything with you, man? Like, what's life been like? Been a
Dude,
long year.
life's been a long year, Brandon, in a good way. No, life's going well, man. Business is growing. We just posted the other day, like a Instagram post that I'm now looking to hire for a part-time admin, just to help with scheduling, inbound calls, outbound calls, discovery calls, things like that. And I think within posting that, I already had like 7 or 8 people reach out within 24 hours saying that they're like interested in the position. So it's cool to see some of that. But yeah, man, business has been growing. I'm just super grateful, man. Like to think like the past year, I mean, but the past year has been it's been almost like driving like 100 miles an hour without any windows or doors on the freeway. Just like things have just been moving quick, but it's been a journey. It's been super fun. A few failures, but definitely a few successes as well. And it's just been cool to kind of like witness and reflect the past. Like, I feel like this time of year with the holidays and New Year's and a little bit more extra downtime, like it's been nice to just like sit back, chill, reflect a little bit. Like, what are some of our wins this year? What are some of the losses, so to speak? What are some goals for like upcoming year? So yeah, man, I'm super grateful. It's been a dope year.
What was it? The beginning of this year? Were you still in Arizona? Like, what
Nah,
was it like when you first started?
yeah, bro. Seems like ages ago. So no, so I was in Emily and I were in Arizona in 2023 and 2024. So like we moved to Arizona September of 2023. Emily got into ASU law school, so we moved out there. And then 2023 was working for a clinic, and then 2024 I started having this like just kind of this like entrepreneurial itch. I kind of like describe it as, and I remember you and I were talking at the time, and it was one of those things where I was working at a clinic full time as a PT, but I was organically getting more and more people to reach out just for like strength conditioning, just like programming stuff, to the point where I was like, honestly, like I don't mind maybe seeing like where this goes. Maybe could I build something like a hybrid thing? Or because I think in the back of my mind, I always knew I wanted to own my own practice one day. But obviously, with my wife and I living in Arizona for a certain amount of time, I kind of was just like, okay, like what could I be doing to kind of scratch that entrepreneurial itch, so to speak? So yeah, so Tribe pretty much started with conversations between you and I in like early, I want to say like April, March of 2024. And then by the time after Emily and I got married in June of 2024, like when we got back from our honeymoon, that's when she found out she got into USC to transfer law schools. So then I was like, okay, let's get it. Like we're moving back to LA. This is like real deal now. So we moved back. That's when, like I want to say August of 2024 is when I started renting space from a private facility, and we can get into that. But that was kind of the journey. But yeah, man, Arizona seems like it was so long ago, but it really wasn't that long ago.
No, I've had that too. It's just like every single year, essentially, like what I do, it's like I look back in my camera roll, I favorite some of my favorite memories, and like I kind of will recap like things from life, work, and then fun. Those are my three categories. What are the pros and cons of each, and like the lessons I've learned? And I was like scrolling back, and I'm like, that was this year. Holy shit! That was like 2 years ago. Just crazy.
Yeah.
I think the crazy part, one of the things about your journey is like you actually had a pretty cool job prior. So like, I was always like, man, you kind of have a nice gig going prior to getting, getting into entrepreneurship. But then you obviously moved to Arizona. Like, what was that journey like? Going from like, what was like, I guess the big ultimatum for you? We're like, all right, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I think, well, when Emily and I were engaged and when she found out she got into law school at ASU, like that was a big deal for her. And I knew that as her partner, like I just wanted to support her however I could. And even though I had a really great job set up here in LA, I was like, at the end of the day, this is like my life partner. So I'm going to support her however I can. So moving to Arizona was just kind of like, I didn't really have to think about it that much. Obviously, it was a bummer because I had a great experience where I was working previously, and left some great people there. But obviously, everyone understood. But like moving to Arizona was great. She started her law school journey, and then I just worked for another, outpatient clinic in Arizona. Yeah, I think what happened was, like I said, I'd always kind of had this like entrepreneurial spirit, so to speak. And I always kind of knew in the back of my head that I wanted to start my own practice one day. And in Arizona at the time, I was like, well, we're going to be out here for 3 years or so Emily can do her law school. Because she wasn't planning on transferring initially out of law school, or to a different law school, I should say. And I was just like, okay, like what could I be doing to start that conversation, so to speak? Could I be seeing some patients privately? Because I always enjoyed working kind of in the cash model anyway, because that's what I was exposed to when I was working here in LA. And I don't know, I just kind of I craved that, and then a few things that happened with my job. I don't mind getting into it, but I actually ended up getting fired from my job in Arizona. Yeah, I don't remember. I think I spoke to you briefly about it, but it again feels like a while ago. But basically, long story short, I had gone to my boss in Arizona and like I want to say early 2024, and I just said, hey, like I just want to like lead with full transparency. Like I'm getting a lot of business outside of here, like for just remote, programming and strength conditioning stuff, and I would love to explore just transitioning to a part-time role while I build up that business. And I had been really forthcoming and just really transparent about it. And at the time, they were like, yeah, no problem. Like we totally understand. It's just going to be a transition for you to go into part-time. It's like, okay, cool. So transition to a part-time at that clinic in Arizona. And while that's happening, I'm starting Tribe. Like I have my S Corp. I'm starting to like, I'm working with you and what it wasn't GGC yet. It was like Moment. What was it called?
Yeah. DMC coaching, defining moment.
DMC. Yeah. Like it was, but it was still like just as valuable, right? So like I was in the beginning stages of that, like just trying to like get my head straight and like set up a valuable product for people just from like a remote coaching standpoint. I had no like business at the time, like trying to see patients in person really. And pretty much did like a launch for Tribe of just like, hey, this is what I've been working on. I'm super excited just because I'd already transitioned to a part-time role. And the day after, or 2 days after I posted that Instagram post, it was funny. I was in LA for a seminar, actually at like an Eric Mera knee seminar. And I was trying on suits for my own wedding with my best man and in Santa Monica. And on my way to the airport, my best man is driving me to the airport, and my boss in Arizona called me. He's like, yeah, like we don't know how to navigate this situation anymore with you being like running your own business now. And were you working part-time? So like we have to separate and go different ways. And I was like, are you kidding? But all that to be said, it all happens for a reason. So anyway, but because I essentially been fired and I didn't do anything wrong really, in my opinion, but to each their own. I wish that clinic the best. It's all good. But at that point I was like, okay, well shit, now I really got to like press the go button here and figure things out. And this was a few months prior to Emily and I getting married. So luckily I had some savings and we were able to figure out things financially to make sure we were set. But at that point, that's when Emily was like, well, hey, like I can actually look to transfer law schools. And I was like, you only do that if you feel like it's good for you. Like, don't worry about me. Like, well, I'll figure it out for both of us. And she eventually, like I said, ended up transferring to USC law. And so then when we found out after our honeymoon, we were still having like all of our stuff was still in Arizona. So we like moved back to Arizona, finished our lease, and then got everything back to LA and like figured it out, lived with my parents for a few weeks, and then found an apartment, and then we were good to go. So yeah, so it was a little tumultuous, I could say, just like a little like it was definitely rocky for a few months there. It was wild.
Was there ever like a thought in your head like, yeah, it's probably not the right time to do this, or like maybe I should go back to my previous employer in Cali? Like, what was like your mindset like? Because there's a lot of moving parts, and obviously you've got to be the person that brings home, you know, some of the money for you and your partner.
Yeah.
And you know, M's, you know, she's got great taste in things. So
yeah, she absolutely does. Yeah, no,
you're like,
my
yep,
mind
she absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah, she absolutely does. My mindset is one of the reasons I love her. No, what my mindset was, by the time we moved back to California, I was like, could I reach back out to the clinic I was working at previously, which I had a really positive experience? Like, yeah. At that point, though, like I had already done the groundwork to start Tribe, and I was already like, well, like, fuck it, we're already here. Like, let's jump in. And obviously that came with a lot of conversations with my wife too, to be like, hey, like, I know like I'm going to be starting from scratch, so to speak, of building a business, and talking to my wife about that. But like Emily was cool with it. I was on board with it. And I told her like, I'm just going to be hustling every day from here on out, just to make sure that, you know, obviously we can put food on the table and things like that. And luckily I also have a really supportive partner that she was like, no, listen, like I'm going to be in law school. We have some money saved. Like you start building your thing. Cause she understood too, that it was important to me. So did it cross my mind to go back to working for someone? For sure. But at that point I was like, you know what, we're already here. Like train's already on the track. We might as well just get rolling. I figured the sooner that I'd start building my business acumen and just failing forward, so to speak, that the sooner that I'd be able to like figure this shit out. So
was there like any sort of like entrepreneurship in your family though? Because like
yeah. So it's funny. So not a lot of people know this, but my dad's a chiropractor and he owns his own. Yeah, he's a chiro. Yeah. So it's funny. I grew up like watching my dad treat patients all the time. And I think that's where some of my like love for customer service in the health space came from, was my dad. But my dad's a chiro. He's still practicing today. My dad owned his own practice, like when I was growing up, and then he still owns a practice today. He like co-owns it with another chiro in Calabasas. So my dad kind of had an initial like entrepreneurial mindset. And so I think I kind of just like caught on to that growing up, but I don't think I really knew that I wanted to, like I said, own my own practice or anything like that until I was a few years out of grad school. Like when I was in PT school, like I just wanted to be the best clinician possible. I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to impact the community, you know? And then a few years out, I was like, okay, I'm getting pretty good at this. You know, I joined Moment Education, got like really like skyrocketed, I think, my like, clinical development. And I was just like seeing really good results. And then, you know, it just got to the point where I was like, hey, like, why couldn't I start my own practice? Like, what's stopping me? So I had a little bit of exposure growing up with my dad. But even so, it's still like, I'll ask him questions and it's funny. Like, it's just so different. Like my dad is not, I wouldn't say super tech savvy. He kind of has like his own ways of like, he works a lot with personal injury, which I think is its own kind of like business model, honestly. And so I don't work with a lot of personal injury. So I'll ask my dad some questions here and there, and he has some really good advice. But like, I think my business model and his business model are a tad different. But he was definitely, I would say, a good source of inspiration for me, just like growing up in general.
Yeah. Dude, that's so crazy. I think you might have told me that before in the past, that your dad was a chiro. Is he like a woo-woo chiro, or like is he like a you're like, drink water real quick?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say he's a woo-woo chiro. I think he's a little bit, you know, my dad's been helping a lot of people and practicing for like 30, 40 years now. He's just been in the game for a long time, since the 80s, you know? So like, if you think about the terminology and methodology, from the 80s. It's like, hey, your hips are out of alignment, your spine's out of alignment. And I personally don't fully agree with all of that terminology, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. Like, I still very much respect and appreciate my dad's work. Obviously, it provided our family with like a really solid lifestyle growing up. And my dad's been a great mentor for me and just teaching me about work ethic and treating others with respect and kindness and just serving patients as well. Like, a lot of that bedside manner stuff I've learned from my dad. So even though like I may not agree with every single, medical, let's say, stance he has, just because he's been practicing the way he's been practicing for so long, I still have a massive amount of respect for just how he practices in general.
No, for sure. And I think that's like something people got to take into consideration. It's like you don't have to be like 100% evidence-based to help people. There's plenty of people that, again, even if your dad's narratives potentially might be outdated, it's not like he's harming people by any means. So there's a ton of benefit from just having great bedside manners to having some degree of like, hey, you're giving me some sort of problem that like you can potentially provide a solution for, whatever modality or intervention that might be. But yeah, if he's had a business for a while, I'm sure that he's helping people and people are recommending him. So nothing there that I would be like, oh my gosh. It's just always funny. Like, is he one of those people that's going to say that he's going to cure
chakras? Cure blind. No, he's not. My dad's wild. He's not that wild. But it's been cool though too, because like even in the past year, my dad's actually referred me a few patients, saying like, hey, like my son's a physical therapist. I think he might actually be able to solve this problem better than I could. And it's been pretty cool to see, because I've helped actually a fair amount of people that my dad sent me. And then him and I have like a collaborative where I'm like, hey, like if you want to continue seeing my dad for chiropractic and it feels good, like do it. And then, so it's like it's a cool, like, it's a cool collaborative thing that we have going on. It's not like he's sending me patients every month, but once in a while, my dad will send me someone. And it's fun, man. It's good to just try to treat as many people as possible.
No, that's freaking awesome. What are some things like you like, man, I did not expect this going into like entrepreneurship?
That's a good question. Bro, I think I didn't expect at first how much like your business is a reflection of you. Yeah. Like I just thought, because you see these people, who are like, have you ever heard the saying like, don't be a public success and a private failure, and like sometimes you see these people who are like so damn successful, they have so much money, or their business is doing so well, or however you want to frame it, and then their personal lives are like pretty terrible, like divorced and I don't know, just like a lot of stuff going on personally. And so it was always this weird thought of like, well, like, I don't know, maybe you can have, and not to say that I wanted that by any means, but it was just like, you go into being like, oh yeah, if you just take care of business, like the business will do well. And then you have to also take care of your personal life, kind of like compartmentalizing it in a way. And I think going into business, and this is something I think that you taught me a lot too, of just like, no, like you will likely always be the bottleneck of your own business. So like you need to make sure that you don't have as many like limiting mindset, theories, and, you think positively of yourself and talk positively to yourself, and have a good relationship with yourself and your own trauma. And for me, I think that was one of the biggest wins this year, is like the months that I experienced the highest monthly revenue of the business were the months that I did my most self-work. And I think that's not a coincidence, or that's absolutely like, it's very clarifying for me. So I think that was something that I didn't expect initially, but now it's very, very clear that like, yeah, you have to work on yourself if you want to have a solid business.
Yeah. The self-work stuff is super interesting, because most of like, and I always bring this up because like, if you ever like talk to somebody and you get into an argument and you see the other person respond like a child, it's almost like, how is it happening? How is this grown human being still responding like a child? And there's a lot of like when you're stressed, you're not actually thinking very like logically. You're just processing things with like it's almost like it goes through the path of least resistance. And if you don't build some of that up, if you don't do the self work, then you essentially just go back to like how you would respond as a child. And it's super interesting because like most of like what we do as like kids is like we're just trying to be safe, and you're just trying to your responses are the same responses that you utilize as a kid, and it's crazy. Like you just literally keep repeating the pattern, and the goal is like when you're under stress, can I actually logically or like can I emotionally feel these things but not respond in a way that's like detrimental or self-sabotaging? But I have the same thing. It's like I didn't expect the amount of growth that we had this year, and all of it I would have to credit to like doing self-work. Is there anything that you share where you're like, yeah, this was like crazy? Like when I thought about it, I'm like, that I can't believe that like I never saw this pattern before.
Yeah, I think a lot of it actually came from just like improving my own positive self-talk. And it's so funny because like I played soccer my whole life, and like I played soccer D1 in college, and like my best moments as a soccer player and as an athlete were when I was like positively talking to myself. And for me this year, I was like, I hit a point in September when we started doing like a lot higher revenue where I was like, why didn't I think of this shit sooner? Like this stuff worked as an athlete. Why would I not do it as an entrepreneur? Right. But yeah, that for me was, I think, the biggest like turning point this year when I started having like a daily mantra and just like daily positive self-talk, where I was like expressing my gratitude every morning and also just talking to myself as if I'm like, I almost think about it like putting on armor, you know, like for the day. Like, all right, if I'm talking positive to myself, like I'm changing the energy and thoughts, right, that I'm kind of like exuding. And then that just allows me to put a better energy out for my patients and like how to problem solve things during the day. So it's funny, like when I started doing that, like I said, like our numbers were going up quite a bit. Like we hit over that 20K mark that for like 9 months, dude, 10 months, I was like between that like 14 to 19K. And I remember us hopping on calls, and I'm just like, man, like, you know, I'm trying out these things. And honestly, I think that's part of business too. Like you're kind of feel stuck and you're trying to figure out like, okay, like what levers do I need to pull to like jump to the next level? And what's funny is when I started the daily mantras and like the more positive self-talk and those types of things, and then also when I stopped attaching such like a strong feeling towards like the outcome, like numbers went up and business started to grow a lot more. So for me, that was like huge this year. Something that I don't think I could have gotten without GGC, to be honest, because I would have just kept spinning my wheels. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was pretty fun to see.
No, that's fucking awesome, man. What like now when you compare like the things that you've done as an entrepreneur and like compare it to like athletics, you know, being like a collegiate athlete, like were there things where you're like, man, I would do this a lot when, you know, I was playing soccer growing up, even as a kid, that made me so much better, you know, compared to like, you know, certain periods where you, I guess like, what's it called? In football, I was working with a field like place kicker, calls it the yippies, where it's like you kind of get in your own head. Like, have you noticed any patterns where like growing up you were crushing it, when then you had a couple of months where you had the yippies and like you just weren't like who you normally were, and like comparing that to like entrepreneurship?
For sure, man. Yeah, no, it's crazy, man, how many parallels there are between athletics and business. But yeah, I mean, I remember like as a soccer player, the times that I played my best, both in like high school and college, I remember there was a few things that were happening like internally. One was that like I I actually remember this feeling on the soccer field of like I would rather be nowhere else in the world. Like I just wanted to be like locked in and present. And I think in business and life, it's kind of similar. Like when I'm in the zone with my patients and I'm just like in the flow state, like I'm not thinking about other things that are going on. I'm not thinking like, oh, I wonder where, like, I'd rather be at here today. Like I remember in my soccer career, like in college when I was playing my best, like I said, like that would definitely be one of the things where I'd be like, yeah, there's no other place I'd rather be than like where my feet are right here. And I think that's like that was a mantra that I started telling myself on a regular basis, like be where your feet are, like just be fucking present, and like just be here. So that was one thing as an athlete. The other thing as an athlete that I think helped, and I think this helped get rid of the yippies a little bit, but I think it's just building confidence with reps and like momentum, right? So that's one thing. Like you just have to like practice and put the work in. Like you can't expect to show up to game day with minimal practice and like ball out. Like I grew up being a soccer player where like I didn't have a ton of natural talent, I would say, like, but I was like a workhorse. And so like I made it a thing to be like one of the fittest guys on the team. I always was going to the gym extra. I always wanted to go to the field extra, work on like whatever I needed to work on. And so for me, like I just felt I would get rid of the yippies, so to speak, with like changing my mentality and perspective a little bit of just being like, hey, I'm just happy to be here. Like there's nowhere else I'd rather be. And then be like, yo, I put in a shit ton of reps. Like I'm confident I can do this stuff. Similar to how like we think clinically, right? It's like when you treat enough evals, you're just like, yeah, I got this. I don't need to like overly prep. And then the last thing I would say, honestly, it's funny. It's actually just came to mind, but I would kind of call it like the motherfucker mentality. And I feel like, I don't know if any other athletes out there could relate, but like, so I was a center back, so I was a defender. And in soccer, that's like one of the more aggressive, like physical positions, obviously, because you're kind of running the entire defense as a whole. And like you have essentially like 180-degree view of the field in front of you. So you kind of have to be a general in the sense of like, you have to communicate to people, you have to be talking, you have to be kind of running the back line. But anyway, so I remember when I was playing really well, I had this like motherfucker mentality of like, I'm going to have an amazing time today making your life a living hell. And I know that sounds crazy, but as an athlete, like I would play really well because it was that like, you are not going to beat me today. And it's just that kind of like mentality, right? Of like, I'm going to figure out whatever I need to do to stop you. And like, you're not getting through me today, whatever it is. Right. And I think in business, the more that I think it's a balance, right? Like we can't go out into the world and having a quote unquote motherfucker mentality with patients, right? Like that's not appropriate. But I do think like when it comes to business, some of the fires that we have to put out, right? It's kind of like, okay, like this is fine. I can deal with this. Like this isn't good. Like I'm going to handle this. And I don't know, just having a little bit of that edge to your mentality, I think has really helped me both as an athlete and as an entrepreneur be like, okay, I'm not going to let this like fucking ruin my day. Like I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to like do what I need to do. And then we're going to carry on forward instead of like, oh, like, why is this happening? Or, oh man, this is really hard. Like, I don't know if I can do it. It's like, no, like lock in, like, okay, this isn't going to ruin me. So.
Yeah, there's like a nice balance of like high performance where it's like, I'm that motherfucker, right? Like I'm going to get this shit done.
Yeah.
And then like, I don't care about what happens. And it's like, you need high agency and you also need to just like surrender. And it's so hard to figure out what the balance is. And lately I've been realizing it's having high agency with like what you're able to do, but surrendering to what the outcome is. So it's like, as an athlete, I know I left the field doing my absolute best. I don't necessarily care what happens because I did my best. And if you can always dictate the scenario, then like people like Kobe and Michael would never lose a game, right? Yeah. But the more and more that I've read into like high performance, like if you go into like these like Kobe interviews, he goes, I actually don't really care about winning. Like thinking about winning and losing puts so much pressure on myself. All I care about is the process, and I can take care of the process. And he just keeps talking about process. He's like, if I win and I get very, very, very happy, I lose my drive to work. If I lose and I get very, very sad, I start to have negative thoughts about myself. So I stop caring about winning or losing. I just keep thinking about my next shot, the next drill. And I was like, damn, Kobe thinks like that? Like, I thought Kobe was all about winning.
Yeah, you would expect differently. It's funny. I think sometimes, just to echo that, I think sometimes it's almost like how do you combine, or to me, it's actually been a realization of you can have intensity and joy live in unison, right? So I could be really intense in the sense of like, I'm going to get stuff done. I have that high agency like you're talking about, like I can take care of my shit. But at the same time, I can have the joy of like having an amazing time while doing it and trying to like let go and surrender, like you're saying as well. Um, yeah, and I agree, man. You look at like some of the best athletes even today, like Steph Curry, right? Like, dude's throwing up how many threes in a game, but like he's pretty much like smiling and he's like fucking people up, right? Or one of my favorite players growing up, this guy Ronaldinho. And like for those who know soccer, Ronaldinho is like easily one of the greatest players of all time. But one of the reasons why he was one of the greatest players of all time was because like he was scoring goals. He was doing things on the pitch that like no one else had really done before. But the guy's like smiling ear to ear all the time, like every game. Like he'd fuck up and he's just like laughing about it. And I remember growing up and I remember like, I mean, I don't know, I was middle school maybe. And I was like, man, how is this guy like laughing about his mistakes if he did make a mistake? But then he would do these crazy things on the pitch and like, you just like, he made people fall in love with soccer. And I try to think about that, like, again, going back to like, can you combine intensity and joy? Like, can I enjoy myself every day in this process? And yeah, like I need to have some level of intensity to make sure stuff gets done, but I don't want to be so intense all the time that I'm like a curmudgeon, or that I'm just like not relatable to people or people don't want to work with me because I'm too intense. So it's like, again, striking that balance.
No, I think it's definitely tougher in a bigger city, like being in LA, being in New York City. There's a degree of like, if you're too intense, you turn off people, right? Yep. Like you're just like, bro, chill. Like if you had it like that, you wouldn't need to put up this like kind of like facade or act. So it's like there's a lot of figuring out like your personal identity and like how you want to be as a person, how you want to be as an entrepreneur in cities where there's so many different personalities, like you'd be in LA and New York and you really can't really pinpoint like the typical person there. But when you go into like, I don't want to say like the South or the Midwest, it's like, it's so similar to a degree. I don't know. Even in LA, right? It's like where you're from, Central LA, like there's so many different pockets. So yeah.
I have to be very much a chameleon, based on like, and I'm sure it is the same thing for New York. I feel like New York, I actually appreciate the New York mentality and New Yorkers in general, because I feel like New Yorkers are generally a little bit more like straightforward and like to the point. Whereas like in LA, like, I don't know, people are not, I don't want to say shady, but people are kind of like, they like smile and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. It's like more passive aggressive as opposed to just like, no, this is what I want, But anyway, yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I definitely have to be a chameleon with the different patients that come through the door because there are so many different pockets of LA. And yeah, sometimes, I'll have patients who are like, actually enjoy it. Like I'll have patients who are like, oh, I'm born and raised in New York. I'm like, let's get it. I love this. I can just be upfront with you. I don't have to beat around the bush. And it's fun. Sometimes other people from LA, like I have to be a little bit more careful with my words because I don't know. Sometimes people just can be sensitive,
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. What are like some limiting like mindsets that you feel like some common themes? Like, yeah, that was definitely a huge one to like kind of overcome. Like, were there certain things about money? Were there certain things about just like your general worth as a provider?
Yeah, I think for me, it was like, I think I had a limiting mindset in the beginning of like, oh, I've never been tech savvy. Like, oh, I've always just been like the guy who just enjoys treating patients and like, but I wasn't, I'm a lot more organized now. But like starting out with Tribe, like I think I had a lot of limiting mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm not very organized. I've never been the most tech savvy person. So like, it's going to be pretty hard for me to like figure out how to organize a business. Yeah, I don't know. I think those were probably my biggest limiting mindsets. And then obviously like I had a little bit of a limiting mindset with money, but luckily I had, working in a cash practice prior to starting my own practice, here in LA. I feel like I had already kind of been exposed to some of those beliefs early on, if that makes sense. So it's not like when I started Tribe, I was like scared to charge people, a premium. But I do think that as I've grown, like it has been slightly uncomfortable at times to like raise my prices. And then I have to ask myself, like, why am I uncomfortable with this? Like I'm valuable, you know, like I'm providing a ton of value for the community. And so I think I think finance is a little bit of limiting mindset, more so of just like belief in myself of like what I can do as a perpetual learner. Right. And like I had to tell myself like, dude, like I can learn anything I want. Like, it's not like I can be a dope clinician. I can help a lot of people, and I can learn, like, I don't know, like a lot more about content and marketing. Like, it's funny. Like I just bought for the business, in 2026, I'm trying to level up a little bit of our content. And so I just bought like a $2,000 Sony camera to like, you know, like level up some of our content just because I wanted to look cleaner and like make it look better. And I'm hiring like a social media intern to like do some filming and editing. And the other day I'm like in my kitchen for like an hour and a half, just like on YouTube, like learning how to like set the settings for the camera. And like, you know, I've never worked with photography, like video.
ISOs, f-stop, aperture, all that
Dude,
stuff.
I don't know what any of this stuff means, but I'm just in the kitchen, just like looking up YouTube and just figuring stuff out. And my wife was like poking fun of me. She's like, since when are you like into cameras? I'm like, oh no, I'm not into it. I'm just like trying to learn. So I have a basis knowledge. But what's funny is even something as little as that, like, I don't think I would have done a year ago, because a year ago I would have just been like, oh, like I've never worked with a camera. I've never done any of that stuff. Like, I don't need to learn that. It's not my wheelhouse, da, 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 da. But now I'm like, no, like I could set aside time and like learn stuff. So again, I think that's a huge shout out to you and Peter and the whole GGC community of like always reminding myself, like I could always learn something new. I could always learn more about what I'm currently doing so that I can just better help people. As long as it's obviously pushing the business forward.
Yeah, it's there's a part of us that like gets a little stuck as we get older, where it's like we stick to the things that we're comfortable with. So like you can't even blame parents and older adults, because like it's so easy to be like, oh, I can't do that. I'm just not that type of person. Yeah. And what you're gonna realize is just like once you do that once, right? Something so insignificant like learning about a camera, it transfers to everything else. And I totally agree with like some of your sentiments. Like this year was like, we had like a lot of homies getting married, lots of bachelor parties and things like that. I'm like, dude, I am like drinking way more than I usually do. And the thing I was like, I just gotta like stop. I gotta like quit. And the story that I've told myself constantly, oh, I'm just an intense person. Like when I'm having fun, I just amplify. I love to have even more fun. And I just literally like last week, I'm like, you know what? All I'm gonna do is just switch the story I tell myself. Like I'm just gonna tell myself that I have a ton of self-control. I have control over my vices. And just doing that has allowed me to just control like something as simple as just changing the way you identify, right? So it's like now it's like you can simply just state something, and then you're you know, if you've done things like that before, like you'll believe it. So like you're just capable now of learning whatever you need to learn. And I think in this day and age, if you don't take that mindset, you're going to get left behind so quickly, because technology changes almost every 3 months now versus like it used to be like every 3 years.
Yeah, 100%. Even like one of my goals is just like, I don't know why it's like, I don't know, like aversion to technology that the past me would like agree with. But like one of my goals is just like, I want to use ChatGPT a little bit more this coming year too. Like ChatGPT is such a useful tool when used in the right ways. And like my wife uses it all the time just to help with things and things like that. And I'm like, why am I not using it enough? Am I like scared to use it? I don't know. It just, what part of me is resistant to little things like that? So yeah, man, 100%. It's like the story you tell yourself is usually what's true, whether good or bad. Right.
Yeah. And if you're in a shitty scenario, think about the story you're telling yourself now. It's like, it's just manifesting constantly. There's a guy, his name is Tiago Fort, and he does like a whole productivity system called like My Second Brain. And he recommended a book. It's about expectations, and I'm super pumped to read it. But it breaks down the science of expectations and how like what you expect to happen actually ends up manifesting constantly. So I'm like, oh, wow, I just can't wait to read this, because I think this is super applicable to everything, right? Whether it's like sales, marketing, etc. So no, that's super sick. What are you've been reflecting for the holidays. What's like an L where you're like, damn, that stung so much, and then what's a win where you're like, yeah, that was awesome.
So I would say an L. I mean, I had a few this year, just like I said, just like little fails, quote unquote, just failing forward and just learning about the business. I think for me, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, I think the biggest L was staying kind of stuck in a certain mindset that I think kept our revenue of the business at a certain place for like 9 months, if that makes sense. Because now I look back on the year and I'm like, man, had I just like helped with some of the positive self-talk or just like eliminated some of those mindset beliefs that I had before, like I feel like our numbers this year were great. Like I'm super pumped of like where our yearly gross revenue is right now for the 2025. But like looking back on L would be like, dude, like if I had just fucking did a few different things mindset wise, like I feel like the business could have been in a slightly different place even. So to me, I think of it as an L or an area of improvement because I'm like, I feel like I stayed stuck, 8-9 months between, like I said, like around that 15K mark. And by the way, 15K is like not something I'm complaining about. It's like a phenomenal monthly revenue. I think it's funny is like, you know, when you surround yourself with people like our homies in the GGC community, everyone's crushing it, man. And it's fun because like we all push each other and we all support each other in the community. And so it's funny, like I was thinking the other day, like 15K, like at one point I was like, man, like it's not good enough, da 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 da. And then you take a step back, you're like, no, that's actually a really great like monthly revenue to hit. Like I should be really proud of myself for that. So I think an L, honestly, would just be the mindset that made me stay in the business, I think, a little stuck for longer than I think I needed to be. But again, it's a really good learning opportunity moving forward of like how I develop myself in the business. And then a big W, like, again, if I'm tying it to the business, like we just hit over 200K for the year for revenue. And like, if you had told me last year, like, yeah, bro, you're gonna roll in 200K this year or over 200, I would have been like, what are you talking about? Like, I still have so many things to do, da 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 da. But and again, not all the W's are financial, but just one off the top of my head, that's something my wife and I were celebrating because, like, again, I put a lot of pressure on myself last year. My wife's in law school. I'm the only one working. So it's like I have to. And I remember us talking in one of our office hours calls of like the difference between like, like pressure, diamonds are made out of pressure. But if you put too much pressure on yourself, then it's like toxic. Right. And I think I've experienced a lot of like mindset wins this year. And then the revenue win of, like I said, of hitting that mark. So yeah, I think it's all kind of come full circle. So like I said before, I'm just like super grateful to reflect on all that stuff and then like feeling really refreshed and like jazzed going into 2026 with some of the stuff I've planned.
Dude, I'm looking at like I've got your Excel pulled up and it's cool to see like Q4 just be completely different from like And I remember because like in start of Q4 you had like a massive mindset shift. I'm like, wow, you look less stressed, you look lighter, you look like more relaxed. And I think other times throughout the year it was like very like high angst, like always thinking about what's next, what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and my patients probably like fed off on that energy too, and like I feel bad so I'm like, that's not who I am, but yeah, that's, you hit on the head, man. It's like when I was in this mindset of like, well, my wife's not working, I got to provide for the family. Maybe some other entrepreneurs feel the same way, and it's like you put all this pressure on yourself, and it's understandable because like, yeah, you have to have food on the table, you have to turn the lights on in your apartment or in your house. Like, if we don't have kids yet, but like, yeah, if you have kids, like you got to feed your kids. Like this stuff is very understandable to like be concerned about, right? But for me, it was one of those things like in the start of Q4, and I think I told you this as well, but like I kind of had to take a step back because I felt that angst like growing for so many months that I had to take a step back finally and be like, hey, like, what's the worst that happens? Like if I go into this next month and I don't have one plan of care sold, or if I don't do one PIF, like what's the worst that happens? And in my head, I was like, oh, like I still have money saved. Like I can still pay rent. I can still, live, like Emily and I aren't going on the street. You know what I'm saying? So I think once I kind of like took a step back and was able to like take a breath a little bit, then I was like, oh, like no matter what, whether it's 5K this month, 10K, 15K, like it's a fucking win. So I think once I went in with that mindset, it was super enlightening. And then, yeah, you could see the Q4 numbers just like skyrocketed.
Love it, man. Love it. And you went back to back on October, November, crushing that 20K. So
Yeah.
and you had 2 months where it's like 19.4, 19.2. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you joking like, "Yo, bro, you want me to like Venmo you a few $100?" I was like, "Nah, dog, I got this. I got it." Yeah, but it's so funny too because it's like why I also don't understand like why I put so much pressure to like hit. Obviously we set goals, right? It's like, oh, I want to hit 20K or I want to hit this amount, but at the end of the day, like I just care more about like, am I growing every month? Am I solving new problems? Am I becoming a better person? I'm like, I'm gonna let the money do its thing. I'm like I have certain goals financially, obviously. Like I want to be able to reach a 50K month, but like my approach to that 50K a month is so much different than it was this past year. It's more of like, as long as I take care of these systems and I'm taking care of my people and my patients, like we're going to rock. I'm not going to worry about it as much.
love it. How'd you celebrate? Did you celebrate the year-end goal?
So the year-end goal, we haven't like officially necessarily celebrated yet, but I will say, so like one thing Emily and I did, cause November was like our highest month of the year. We hit 24K. And so for me, I was like, you know what, that's a big thing. So, we'd already kind of been planning on doing like a mini staycation, like kind of during the holidays, just to like unplug a little bit. Cause both Emily and I love to travel. But one thing we did to kind of celebrate, we did like a 3-night stay in Laguna Beach. So it's like hour and a half south here of LA, like on the way to San Diego. And it's like this cool little, like, I don't know, classic like California surfer town. It's beautiful, like coffee shops and art shops, and just like you walk around really good restaurants, and you're like near the beach, near the water. And so we just took like 3-4 days down at Laguna Beach to celebrate and just kind of like relax. And um, yeah, we showed up to our hotel and like they automatically upgraded us to this like dope suite overlooking the water. I was like, this is awesome, man. So yeah, no, that's how we celebrate. I haven't celebrated yet for like the monthly or sorry, the yearly revenue. But today it's New Year's Eve today. My wife and I will probably have, we'll probably like chill, play some Scrabble, have a glass of champagne. We'll probably just celebrate that way tonight, just to hang out. But yeah, man, no, I don't have any like big plans otherwise to celebrate, but it's definitely something that we need to keep doing into 2026.
No, I love it, man. That's so freaking awesome. Nati, dude, appreciate you coming on. Any last words, for someone that might be thinking about GGC, and then just last words for people in general that, might have been in similar shoes to where you're at when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, GGC has absolutely changed my life and my family's life. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a clinician and you're on the fence, like, please just take into consideration my story and a lot of other people's stories in our community of who are just like excelling to the nth degree, with Andy and Peter and Christy. You guys have done such an amazing job building this dope community, and I'm super grateful for you guys. One thing I'll say, I actually saw this quote the other day, and it just fired me up a little bit. But and I don't know if it's from the Old Testament. I'm not trying to get like super religious here, but I don't know if it's from the Old Testament or if it's from like another author. But it pretty much says like back in the day, like when God decided that to make David king of Israel, he didn't give him a crown, he gave him Goliath. And I'm like, damn, that's a bar right there. And so I think like if you're dealing with entrepreneurship, or even if you're just a clinician working for someone else, just know that like growth lies on the other side of comfort. And just know that like there's always a better version of yourself that you can attain. But yeah, man, I'm just like super grateful for this community. I'm super grateful for the year we've had, both the ups and the downs. And dude, I'm excited to see you guys in Austin for our next seminar. Me and Peter are the reigning cornhole champions from our last seminar. we're about to go off, but no, I'm excited to see everyone. And honestly, the Slack channel is always popping, man. I'm always super pumped to see everyone else's wins too, because the rising tide raises all ships. So it's gonna be a fun year, man.
Dude, I love it. Happy New Year's! And if you're gonna play Scrabble today, got to give you my secret word, QI. Key.
QI.
Yeah, it just means energy, I think. But
heck yeah.
Q was 10 points, so if you could sneak that in, It's the
Dude,
easiest way.
Emily, we play Scrabble every year for New Year's Eve. It's been like a little tradition of my wife and I. And dude, she kicks my ass every year. I'm like, yo, am I like stupid? What is going on? Like, but she'll beat me by like 80 to 100 points. And I'm just like in shock. But I'm going to use that because, you know, we need to change some things up.
Love it. Nati, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. Appreciate you.